Welcome back to Teal House Farm. It is finally time. I have finally finished the new Canning Pantry and I'm so excited to show you just what we've done. So here's what it looked like when we started. The previous owners left these shelves here where they didn't store canned goods here, just other things. And so these shelves can't bear the weight. There's too much space between each of the posts. Those jars are gonna cause those shelves to bend. You can already kind of see that just with the few jars I left on the shelf. So we got some work to do. I did go ahead and just organize this with some store-bought canned goods and my extra jars, and we're gonna leave this one as is for now. Some friends came over and helped me get a head start. They painted the bumper bars, which have chalkboard paint on them, and they helped me cut the plywood that's gonna go on the shelves and help me organize the jars that are currently not on a shelf so that it's easier to load later. But after they left, we had a lot of work to do. This took me over a month, mostly because I got really frustrated multiple times. I had to keep starting and stopping, but just couldn't quite figure out how to solve some of the problems. One of the first problems was finding the right kind of nails. I really didn't want to buy anything. I spent $100 on wood, which really is not much. I was trying to do this well, but not spend a lot of money. So you can see two different nails there. I tried two different types of nails and they were both awful. So I did have to end up going and spend good money on some good quality nails that wouldn't keep stripping as soon as I put them into the wood. But once we found the right kind, it really went really fast, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't just spend that $10 the first time around, because honestly, it wasn't that much money, and the amount of frustration I have right here just because the nails won't screw into the stupid board was driving me absolutely insane. We are dividing the current shelves in half. So that's why we're putting a bar right there. We're gonna add a shelf in between in both middle sections, which will give us twice as much space, and we won't be wasting all this air space above our quart jars. And so that's the first thing we're going to do. And then we need to add extra shelf support. So JJ's gonna go ahead and empty all these shelves for me, because in between the middle of each shelf, we're going to add another post and beam so that these shelves have extra support for all of the weight that they're about to hold. We tried our best to eat through a lot of the Canning Pantry before we moved here. We did a pretty good job, but then as soon as we got here, it was that time of year, it was fall. And so there were a lot of things on sale. I also had emptied out the garden right before we moved from the farm. So I ended up putting up quite a bit of food. So we ended up with a lot of jars, but luckily we didn't have to move as many from the farm to here. I've just been canning a lot the last couple months because, like I said, it is fall and that's just when I do those things. My original plan had been to remove the current shelves and just leave the posts. But the way that these were constructed by whoever constructed them before, they used a nail gun and not screws. And so in order to take it apart, I probably can't get it back together even if I could get it apart. So we're trying to kind of add to it. So good thing I have short little children, because I could never fit inside these shelves in order to do some of this work. But Ivy here is willing to crunch down into the shelves to help them so that we can get them kind of built around what already existed without having to take it apart. I did try to do this in a way that would waste as little wood as possible. So these 2x4s, I only ended up with about 4 extra inch ends on them. So there wasn't a lot of wood waste, which was good. I was really trying, as I said, not to spend a lot of money. You guys know that I don't like wasting money, but I wanted to do it well. I didn't want to just go cheap and have things fall apart later, but I think we found a good medium here. So we cut all those support bars, and then I cut the new posts. You need 4 new posts for the sides, and then we're kind of ready to construct it. As usual, somebody needs their camera moment while I'm trying to work. So get him out of the way, and we're going to add the support beam. This was the hardest part because it had to be kept plumb while screwing in, because we couldn't take things apart to get the post to the back. That was a massive game of Jenga, trying to get the support posts to the back without having to take the shelves apart. Thankful for my friend Tara, who is really good at filling out those kind of spatial problems. She helped me figure out how to do that, because at first I didn't think it was going to be possible, but we did get it worked out. And so JJ is going to be my support person here, squeezing her in the shelf. I've measured and drawn with pencils, so I know exactly where to line things up. So hopefully we end up with something that's close to straight by the time we're done. We're following the same model that the people who built the shelves already used when they built their original shelves, which is that the weight of the shelf holds the posts to the floor. So these aren't screwed into the concrete, but the weight of the shelves on top keeps everything straight. And in the end, it did work out okay. These shelves are really secure, though the building process was a little bit complicated. get a little guy on the bottom here so we can get this bottom support in. The kids really had fun helping and they did a great job. Their job was just to push as hard as they could up against the existing shelf so that these were screwed in nice and tight. Once we did all this, I did come through with a level to make sure everything was plumb, because once we put the weight of the jars on the shelf, the weight pushed everything down into the floor. So we wanted to make sure it was nice and both level and plumb so that nothing tipped over. This part was definitely the most frustrating. It was just hard to reach, hard to get in there. Didn't really like crawling around on the floor in the cold basement. We got it done. The easiest part, technically, was sliding the new shelves in, but boy, were they heavy. So the original shelves were made out of two 2x10s that just go and go and go, but that kind of wood is really expensive. So Sam got me some plywood that we then cut. But man, that was a heavy shelf, and I really didn't want to have to ask for help. I really wanted to do this myself. I figured it out. There was a lot of wiggling and a lot of having to take breaks because I would get really frustrated because I cut it exactly the right size and it would kind of squeak as you pushed it into position, but it's in there nice and tight and it's not going anywhere soon. And I did screw it down in certain spots to make sure that the shelf is really secure in its new location. Once those shelves are in, the last thing we have to do is add what I call the bumper bars. So this is just a strap on the front of each shelf so that if, a little mini earthquake or something were to come along, it's not going to knock any jars off any shelves. These, my friends who came over, painted with chalkboard paint for me, which is going to allow me to be able to label where everything is in the pantry. And if I move things around, I can easily erase that label and write with chalk what I put there now. So that was kind of fun. And the kids had fun. They're going to decorate these in a minute for me too, around what I write, draw some pictures. And so it just makes it look a little homey, a little more fun. We did get sawdust everywhere because it was raining out when we did this. And so I did all the cutting inside. So everything's got sawdust on it. So they helped clean those up too. And then it was time to reload. You never realize how many jars you have until you got to put them up and organize. Tried to keep things in somewhat sensical sections. There's a section that's like soups and stews. There's a section that's mostly fruits, a section that's vegetables, got all the meats kind of together, all the jams and jellies and pickles things. So I think it worked out pretty well. If I decide I don't like how it is, again, I can just erase that chalkboard and rewrite it and move things around. I did find one really old jar. I found one from 2019. Somehow I didn't catch it when we moved out. So I tossed that one. I mean, technically it's probably fine, but the quality would be probably not that great after 6 years on the shelf. Other than that, these jars are all only a year or two old and will be used up. I have pretty good rotation. I'm pretty good at not letting things get behind me now that I know what we use, not just canning random things. So we should be using this as kind of like a grocery store in the basement. Kids are adding their pictures to my writing. I told them they could draw as much as they wanted. They just couldn't draw over the letters, and they did a great job following the rules. Overall, it did take me about 6 to 7 weeks once I started, but most of that time was me waiting in frustration, not sure how to solve a couple problems. But like I said, I had some great friends that came over and kind of helped me figure those things out. And then the last part, probably about 70% of the work I all did in one day, because then I knew how to solve the problems and I just kind of got it done. There we go. I think it looks great. I'm excited to fill it up even more. And the best part is there's even more shelves behind this one, behind that little box in the middle of the garage. So if I decide that I want more storage space, I can just do what I just did for another 2 sections of shelves and have tons of space. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all again really soon.